The end of 2024 is quickly approaching, which is just wild. I honestly can't believe how quickly the year has gone. With that being said, as we look towards the new year, it's really important that we get our money mindset in order, ready for 2025. To help share tips on how we can actually improve our money mindset for 2025, I am joined with Laura Ann Moore, my really good friend and money and mindset coach. Hello, Laura. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You're back again.
What can I say?
This is like
You love it.
I do. One of my favourite guests to have on the podcast.
Hey, babe.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm finally over the illness that seems to be circulating around.
There's so much going
I
around.
know, it's gross.
Yeah, and I want to keep it away.
No, I'm healthy. I'm healthy again.
Well, this is why we're sat for
Yeah, no, we're so far away. I'm like, my friend.
I like it this way.
Yes, stay over there.
So obviously I know you very, very well, and you've been on the podcast a couple of times before, but just in case those who are listening have never listened to one of our previous episodes or doesn't follow you online, please introduce yourself to everyone listening.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Ann Moore, and I am a money mindset expert, financial coach, speaker, educator, and the podcast host of Mind, Money, Soul. And my whole thing is about helping people to feel good about money and confidently build wealth by talking about money in a very holistic way, very jargon-free, like fun, judgment-free way across social media. That's me. That's what I do.
I love that. And what inspired you to start sharing these tips all those years ago now? So what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years
Yeah.
ago. What inspired me? I think it started off with like my own personal experience with money and like viewing how or seeing how lack of money or lack of financial education, the impact that can have negatively. And then also like the positive side of like getting to experience how cool money can be after like saving and going traveling and like having all these amazing experiences. So I think kind of the positive and the negative sides of money that I've personally experienced made me want to share that and wanted to help other people have less negative experience and more positive experience.
Yeah, and you've done an incredible job, one, building your community, also talking about many topics that a lot of personal finance content creators don't cover, such as like relationships and all that good stuff. And obviously you've grown an amazing community off the back of that, which I'm very, very proud of. Obviously, you know, we're here to talk about money mindset, all that good stuff today on the podcast, but I want my listeners to get to know you a little bit better. So I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you. I hope you're prepared.
I am not. I'm always prepared.
Yeah, I hope so. So my very first question to you is, if you won the lottery today or tomorrow, what would you spend the money on?
Well, it depends how much I won.
Okay, let's say
like we're
$1 million.
jackpot. We're talking
Yeah,
jackpot.
like $1 million.
Like $1 million. Okay.
Yeah.
I would honestly spend like a large proportion of it investing
Okay,
and like putting it aside. Sensible girly.
we love to see it.
We do. I would give away some of it to like family and friends, and then the rest of it I would use to travel.
Yes,
I'd go around the world.
you have to. If you won the lottery, right? I feel like we're both that way inclined.
Yeah.
Like we love to travel.
Yeah.
And if we got gifted that amount of money, oh my gosh, I don't think we'd be seen for a very long time.
Yeah, it's that whole, you know, when it's like, you'd know if I won the lottery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be one of those, like, I would disappear. I would do, like, round the world trip.
Yeah, so
Nowhere would be off limits.
literally, like even like Komodo Islands, Antarctica. I was even looking at
the
Antarctica the other day. I asked my mum if she'd come with me, and she was like, "No."
No.
I was like, "Okay, I remember that when I'm cruising around the Antarctic."
Yeah, you're at home.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I guess I love that answer, by the way. And I guess my second question for you is, what's the most valuable money lesson you have ever learned?
I honestly think if I had to pick just one, it would be around the importance of investing. For the things that have had the biggest impact on me, financially, I would say, learning about investing and how to actually like make your money make money.
Yes.
I would say, if I could like tell myself to start sooner, I would have. You can't turn back the clock, you know what I mean?
No, but you've been invested for a while now, though, haven't you?
A couple of years, yeah. Yeah, and I think like as soon as I learned about it, I did obviously my research and then was like, let's go.
Yes.
But
Hopefully
obviously
some good returns.
some good returns,
Yes.
doing what it needs to do.
Yeah.
But I'm like a slow, boring, sustainable style like wealth builder.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to make my riches and be done by 40.
Yeah.
Which I guess is the power of like being in a job you love. Because I'm like, I don't mind working for longer because I love this.
So true.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're like, I hate this place, then you probably want to be out sooner. But yeah, trajectory, it's going well.
I like that. I like that. But that's the importance about, you know, doing our own research, empowering ourselves, because both of us taught ourselves how to invest in the stock market because we're not taught about it in school or university, which still really rubs me the wrong way. But hey, I'm proud of you for obviously being an investor, especially as a woman as well, which we need to see more female investors in the space. But obviously today we're chatting all things money mindset, making sure people actually go into 2025 really well equipped, feel like they're ready, you know, to kind of get their money up. I feel like 2025, especially for me, because I spent a lot of it traveling this year, I plan to, you know, kind of, reshape my money mindset. I'm not doing awfully with my money management, but I feel like I need to prioritize different things next year. So I'm sure there's many other people like that who are probably reaching the end of this year and thought, you know what, I'm nowhere close to my saving goals, right? So what is a money mindset and why is it important for financial success?
So your money mindset is just essentially like your unique set of beliefs and attitudes towards money that drive your behavior around money. So how you spend it, how you save it, how you invest it. And the reason why it is important is because you can have all the practical stuff in the world. You can have the budget, you can have the pension plan, you can have the high salary, but if your mindset is not in the right place, you're not going to do the right things with your money to actually reach financial success. And I think that the more you can start to understand that you have an emotional connection with your money, you have a relationship with your money, there's so many things that you can do to shift it. And I think a lot of people, when they're maybe in a place financially they don't want to be, or they're overwhelmed or stressed with money, the first thing they go to is like, what's the practical stuff I need to do? And then for some reason they learn all this information and they can't implement it or action it or change. And it's because it's the thought process, it's the emotions behind that that is more important. And like the analogy I always give is, if you were building a house from scratch and you like had all this amazing furniture and all this cool stuff, but you built that house on a pile of mud, it doesn't matter what you have, like physically, the house is going to fall down. That's your money mindset. It's the foundation. The other stuff is still important, but that your money mindset is the foundation to your success.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's really important that we look at the foundation because, like you said, I think a lot of people, respectfully, you know, I like that word.
Respectfully.
People like to run before they can even walk. And, you know, people always say, like, to me, oh, I want to invest, I want to buy a house. But it's like, okay, but what is the foundation saying? How do you view money? Do you have a positive relationship with money? I know I haven't in the past. And I'm okay to reflect on that now and realise, you know, what I need to change to go forwards. Then, you know, money mindset, then you got your budgeting, your saving, then you got the investing and the long-term, like, you know, financial planning. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think in addition to all those, like, all of those elements that you mentioned, budgeting, saving, investing, there's a mindset element to them too. So like me, when I just said about my biggest like financial lesson or like thing that I'm really grateful for is learning how to invest, there's a money mindset element of that. Because I didn't just learn how to invest and go, okay, cool, like there's so much stuff came up around risk and losing money and what it meant for my future and letting go of the money that I had. Like every practical element also has a mindset element. So I think it's really important to acknowledge what your mindset is and then do the things that you need to do to like change it. And also it's not about like having a perfect mindset. Like it's not once I've got the perfect mindset, then I'll save, then I'll invest, then I'll do these things, because it's an ongoing journey. It's a lifelong journey. But starting the ball rolling, like especially if you've never thought about it or if you've thought about it a bit and you're like, oh, I don't really know, you know, it's something that like changes your life, changes your relationship with money, and only has a positive impact, I think.
I agree. But, you know, obviously having this positive money mindset is really important, but how can we identify whether or not we actually have a positive or negative relationship with money? Like what are the key factors kind of look out for?
So I think the first thing is like, check your language. Like what are the things that you're always saying about money? What do you find yourself saying on repeat? Is it things like, I'm so broke, I'll never get out of debt, oh, I can't invest, that's not for me? Like, what are the things that you find yourself constantly saying? That's, you know, like, number one. It's like, just check your own language. And then I think, because we get into these loops of saying the same thing over and over and over again.
And
we don't even
with
realize
the same people as well.
With the same people, in the same settings, with the same triggers. So, like, get really honest with yourself. You know, you don't have to pass judgment on it, just like, what are the things that I'm saying? But also look at what the sticking areas of your finances are. So like for some people, they're amazing at saving, but they don't like spending. Some people are great at taking risk and love investing, but are really bad at holding on to cash for emergencies. Like there's find what area you feel personally is a sticking point. So
Yeah.
like identify the challenge and then be like, okay, what are the things that I'm telling myself about this? Like, what are the things that I say? What is it I believe? Because you're always going to have certain beliefs about certain things. And it really, you don't need to like overthink it more than that. It doesn't have to be this deep rooted thing. Just genuinely, what is it I believe to be true?
Yeah.
And then I think that's where you can kind of start. And it's not that you are just going to have a negative or a positive relationship with money. You might have a positive relationship with saving, but a negative relationship with spending. You know, like
Yes.
it's this thing like humans love to categorize and like label. You're vegan, you're vegetarian, you're bisexual, and even though it helps you identify with who you are, sometimes it can also like box you.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe sexuality is different. That's probably a bad example. But you know, things
Yeah,
like
100%.
vegan or, you know, those kinds of
I
things.
feel like there's no flexibility once you've had that.
Yeah, so if you're saying things like, I'm a saver, I'm a spender, like you box yourself into that category, but just become aware of that language. And then journaling is like one of my favorite things. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
I actually had a phone call with my friend today and she was like, you're not going to believe this, I've journaled for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, tell me everything. But yeah, journaling can be an amazing way just to like, just go in really explorative, asking yourself questions. How do I feel about saving? How do I feel about spending? What's come up for me? Who influenced me the most when it came to money? What do I believe to be true? Like there are so many questions that you can ask yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how you will start to identify the sticking points.
Yeah, I think identification is really, really important. Like I said, I used to have a really, really unhealthy relationship with money where I was just a saver, not a spender, hated spending money, used to make me feel anxious. I'm a lot better now because obviously people that see me traveling will know that's clearly not the case anymore. But I guess when it comes to your identification, where would you say you're at with your money mindset at the moment?
So I was like you. I was a massive saver.
Yeah.
I to the point I was like, it's giving hoarding.
Yeah, literally.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Like when I was younger, especially like the kind of like early 20s,
Yeah.
my clothes would be like falling apart and I'd be like, no, it's fine. As long as I've got that money in the bank. So it was to the point where it was like detrimental to just my lifestyle. And then I went traveling, and then when I came back, I'd gone from being like a saver to a spender because I was like, spending is cool. So I've definitely like flip-flopped between the two. I've definitely been in more of a spending era this year. Also like you, been on a lot of holidays, you know, done a lot of nice things. But I would say I have the best relationship with money now in regards to like, I enjoy spending and I see what it can like bring me.
Yeah.
I enjoy saving and I see the importance of that. I feel confident investing. I trust that I can make money in my business. I have a very abundant mindset towards wealth. So I would say like my money mindset is in a good place, but I know that there's always another level.
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it all comes down to balance as well. I think that's where you then establish that healthy relationship with money in the sense that like, yes, you can spend your money, but then it's also about knowing that you need to save as well.
Yeah.
Or, you know, yes, you're a good saver, but it's also about like, okay, how are we multiplying that to, you know, grow wealth over time and things like that. So I think balance is always the answer when it comes to managing our finances. But obviously, like I said, 2025 is quickly approaching. Like, oh my gosh, like I actually don't want to think about January 2025 yet.
Yeah.
However, I think, you know, it's really important that we all establish this healthy money mindset ready for the new year. So how can people develop an actual good money mindset in time for the new year?
So if you want to develop a good money mindset, I have this like 4-step method.
Okay.
It's like the ABCA method.
Ooh.
I created it myself. So
You can trademark that.
trademarked right here, right now. I don't know how trademarking works, but trademarked. So it's called the ABCA method, and the A stands for awareness. So we touched on this already, like really just becoming aware of where your mindset is at right now.
Yeah.
Judgment free, it's pure data.
Yeah.
You don't need to like shame yourself for it or get in, you know, like, because that's where we can go. We can go into this place where you uncover and you're like, I hate that I've been like this. It's meant this, and this. No, we're just going in like you would a friend, sitting back and going over something. So have the awareness first, and you can do that through journaling, working with a coach. Then the B stands for the belief that you can change.
Okay.
Okay, because I think sometimes what happens is people uncover this stuff about themselves and then they fall into the trap of like, well, that's just who I am. That's how I've always been. That's how I always will be. No. That's not the case.
Yeah.
Our brains have neuroplasticity, which basically means we can change. So we have all these like neural pathways in our brain and they get stronger each time we repeat something.
Okay.
And you can undo those. So it takes time, it takes repetition, but knowing that you can change is really important. And it's the difference between basically having a growth mindset or a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Having a growth mindset is really important. The C stands for changing your language. So starting with like noticing once you've noticed what your language is, introducing different things to say.
Okay.
And like, I'm a big fan of like mantras and affirmations. And I always say like, it doesn't have to be you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm so rich, I'm a millionaire, because your body won't believe it.
Yeah.
It has to be something that you feel really connected to. It could be like, I am learning to be better with my money, or it could be talking about your goals, or anything that makes you feel good when you say it.
Yeah.
So really shifting your language, and then really like using your language when it comes to the way you talk to your friends, your partner, or whoever it is. So having conversations about it as well.
Okay.
And then the last A is around building an abundance mindset. So moving away from scarcity and lack and leaning into abundance and trusting that there is enough money, there is enough resources, there are enough opportunities to go around, which can be hard in a time like now when you feel like everywhere you look or read, there's something like about the economy or inflation.
Yes.
So that just comes within yourself of like building that trust. And all of those things come down to taking small actions. Like you can sit and you can figure out what happened when you were younger, and you can like ask yourself all these questions. But once you've got that and you've done the data and then you actually need to start to put things into action, which is building those good money habits, setting yourself up with like success when it comes to like daily, weekly, monthly.
Yeah.
So you kind of do the mindset part first, and then it gets bolstered up with the action.
Yeah. I really like the fact that you spoke about abundance mindset, right? And we both moan about entrepreneurship sometimes. Don't get me wrong, like I love it, but also there's days where it's bloody tough, and Laura can agree with me because we always rant about it.
We do.
Yeah, and like how we moan about entrepreneurship, but I think we need to look at how far we've come from like the last 5 years to now in terms of mindset. I know we also talk about, you know, whether or not business is doing well or not compared to the last couple of years, but fact of the matter is we're still standing here and we've like survived all year despite our moaning and despite the brand deals that might not have come to fruition. And I think for you listening, if you're maybe working a full-time job, you might not be happy where you're at the moment, but the finances that you've been paid has got you to where you're at. So now it's about working out whether or not you want to maybe, you know, increase the kind of things you're doing with that finance that you're being provided with, or if it's not enough, then, you know, having that abundance mindset to know that there's other jobs out there, there's enough for opportunities like you mentioned for other people to seek new ventures, I guess, especially into the new year.
Yeah, and I think like a huge part of that, like two things. One, gratitude.
Yeah.
It's so important. Like one of the things that I talk about, because people say, okay, you want me to have an abundance mindset, how do I do that? So practicing gratitude. And it's so simple that like, it's like as humans, we overcomplicate things. The reason why it works is because we have something in the brain called the reticular activating system.
Gosh, you're all so scientific today.
I am a science girly. I'm so about the science. I like backing up the woo-woo with the science,
Yeah.
because then people can't argue it. So you got this thing in your brain called the RAS, and essentially when you feed it a piece of information, it will go out and look for that thing.
Yep.
So when you tell yourself that you're going to buy a new red car, and then suddenly you see that red car on the road everywhere, you've primed your brain to look for that thing. It works both positively and negatively. So whatever you feed it is what it's going to go and look for. Mm-hmm. If you're feeding it good words, good thoughts, it's going to go and look for those things. Yeah. So a huge part of it is what you're feeding it. Mm-hmm. So if you want to have an abundance mindset, it is the believing before seeing. It's not the other way around. You have to trust that there are the things out there and that your current reality is a huge part from how you've been thinking. Caveat to all of this, obviously, if you know you're below the breadline, you're in poverty, you're really struggling, like there's a whole nother thing in relation to like privilege and all of that. But we're just talking in general. Really being able to look at your situation and go, what am I genuinely grateful for that other people don't have?
Yes.
Like a roof over my head, food on the table, friends that love me, like whatever it is, you will have things that you can be grateful for.
Yeah.
And when you focus on the things that you are grateful for, you have more things to be grateful for. Like focus on the good, there'll be more good to focus on. And you can do that with money and with clients and with opportunities. And I do think the more that you can like do that, the more it makes you feel better. The more like dopamine that gets released, like hormonally, all the things that are going on inside. So yeah, with that abundance mindset, it's kind of like, it's okay to have a moan and be like, this day is really hard, or I'm really annoyed I lost that deal, because that is just the nature of life. Yeah. But not letting that situation make you tell yourself a story about what's going on. Oh, me losing this one deal means I'll never get another deal. Me, you know, missing this one credit card payment means I'm going to be in debt forever. Me taking a risk and it maybe not going the way I wanted means I'm always bad with money. Like, you don't have to extrapolate one situation to your whole life.
Yeah.
So like practicing gratitude and then leaning into just being like, okay, this happened. I can look at it objectively or logically, and then I can still trust in, you know, the universe.
Yes.
And that, you know, life is long.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to have everything now.
Yeah. And it's unpredictable as well.
So unpredictable.
Yeah.
And I think like we live in a fast-paced society where we want everything now. And you look on social media and you compare yourself to other people, and maybe whether it's they're in the same career as you or they're in a different career, but you can't help but compare. So I think removing comparison is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah. Oh, we both know that. But I guess
Right.
with that though, I think, like you said, gratitude is so important, because how is the universe or your God, if you believe in God, going to gift you or reward you with more if you're not grateful for the things you have now?
Yes.
So I think that was a really, really good point. But also, you work with a lot of clients.
Yes.
You help people with their money, which I love. What are some common money myths or beliefs that you have seen hold back people financially?
Okay, so some common myths or like beliefs are, first of all, money is the root of all evil. Like such a classic one. But I get it because of the way it's portrayed in society and the media. But I found out that phrase is actually not the money is the root of all evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil. So it's not the money that's the issue, it's the way people use it. It's like the greed and the desire for it. Like wanting and having money is not a bad thing. The more money you have, the more good you can do in the world, the more generous you can be, the more you can, you know, like buy from independently owned businesses, and also the better of a life you can have.
Yes.
So there is no shame in like wanting more money. So one thing is, this idea that maybe like wanting money makes you evil or selfish, that holds people back massively, because then it makes them like get rid of all their money too quick or not do things to build their own wealth. Some other ones, like when it comes to investing, is that investing is too risky, or that it's just for men.
Classic.
Or that you have to have loads of money to get started. And, you know, investing is, the barriers to entry are so much lower now. You can literally start with £5. And yes, there are risks involved, but it's not risky like gambling. There are ways that you can mitigate and manage your own risk when it comes to investing in the stock market. So again, that's more of a lack of education. Other mindsets are, you know, around this idea of like, I'm really bad with money and I've always have been bad with money. What's the point in trying?
Yes.
Oh, well, that type of thing. Like, I'm this far down the line. Anything can be undone. Everything is figure outable.
Yes.
Like, no matter where you are at financially, there can be a hard stopping point where things turn around. So, yeah, that's definitely like a big one.
Yeah.
And also like saving, this is like a funny one, but like this idea of like, when people get into the belief of like, oh, I'll just save whatever I got left over at the end of the month.
Yes.
Like, you know, I'll just, I've got this, you know, I guess that's more of like a habit, but that gets people.
Yes.
You're not going to have anything left at that.
No, you're not. You're not. It's wild how many people say to me they're saving their current account. They say that they're going to spend what they have and then put whatever's left over at the into their savings pot. I'm like, there's never any money left. I don't care who you're trying to convince, but it ain't me.
Not me.
And I guess, obviously, as we're heading towards the new year, goals are so important.
Yes.
I think goals can really help you change your money mindset, because at least you have something to work towards. So at least you're then motivated to try and achieve them. So for those kind of looking to set goals for the new year, how can they go about establishing them?
So I love the phrase, if you aim at nothing, you will hit every time.
Okay.
Think about it. If you aim at nothing, you're going to hit every time. So if you don't set yourself goals, you're never going to achieve anything.
Okay.
You get it?
Yes,
you aim at
I
nothing,
do.
you're going to hit every time.
Yes.
So setting goals is important. The reason why I say that is because sometimes I have people say to me, like, the reason why I'm not saving or the reason why I'm not investing is because, like, what am I doing it for? Like, if I've got a job now and it's a job I like, you know, and I'm spending, like, what's the point? I don't know what I'm saving for. So you don't have to know exactly. You know, like, you're always going to need money, you're always going to build wealth. But yeah, I think when it comes to setting financial goals, it's really important to put the emotion behind it. So if you say, next year, in 2025, I want to save £5,000, right? Why? What is the why? everybody would like to save money.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's, you know, it helps
100%.
everybody.
Yeah.
So I think really putting the why behind it, is it that's £5,000 extra towards my house deposit. I can't wait to move into that house. I'm so excited to furnish it and move in with my partner. Is it I'm saving £5,000 for an emergency fund because I really value security and financial stability?
Yes.
Is it that I'm saving £5,000 because I want to travel and see the world and I know that that's going to give me these experiences? Like, that is so much more motivating.
Yeah.
So then throughout the year, you will have a stronger desire the more you are connected to that goal to actually do the things you need to do. Because we can't have everything. All of us would love to spend, save, invest wild amounts, but you've only got so much of an income.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And even though I'm a big believer, like, bring more income in where you can, totally, you still have to work with what you've got.
Yeah.
So setting goals help you also set like achievable, realistic ones. So easy to set crazy goals. Like if you say, oh, I want to save £50,000 next year, but your salary is 40,000.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, well, it's not that realistic, or you're going to have to go and find ways to make that money. So when you lay it down, it allows you to actually calculate, like, is this worth it? But in addition to that, having monetary goals, like value-based goals, is really important. But you can also have habit-based goals, and you can also have education-based goals.
Okay.
So value-based is like, you know, I want X amount saved, X amount invested, X amount. It's based on the money. And then education-based is I want to learn how to invest.
Okay.
So this is great if you are maybe like changing careers, or you know, you're starting your own business, or you're a student and maybe like you've taken a pay cut, or you're not on as high of a salary as you would like. Educating yourself and investing in your education is a great way, because you can read books, you can watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, you can do stuff that necessarily doesn't require loads of money to start, but that knowledge that you learn is like the most, like, you get the highest return on investment.
Yes.
So education-based goals, and then habit-based goals.
Okay.
So I want to start looking in my bank account more. I want to have, you know, I want to regularly budget. I want to, like, what are the things that you're trying to do? Because James Clear, favorite book, says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So you can set all the goals you want, but if your systems and processes aren't in place, you're not going to reach the goals.
Yeah.
So that's why habit-based ones can be really good.
I feel like you're preaching today.
I'm preaching. I know. These are going to be the world's longest clips.
No,
everybody.
I feel like this is what everyone needs to hear, especially as we reach the new year, because I feel like the motivation comes at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's ready, you know, but I think we need to implement steps before we just go drastic and have this overnight change in January. And that's why many of us don't actually stick to our goals at the beginning of the year, because we actually haven't changed our mindset. And so hopefully, guys, you listening or watching are enjoying Laura's tips so far. And I guess, Laura, to kind of round up today's episode, because it's been filled with so many gems, do you have any final tips for those looking to start their new year in the best financial position?
Totally.
Go on.
Ways. Okay. So aside from the things that we'd said about like exploring your relationship with money, really judgment free, and like setting yourself achievable but motivating goals, I would say first off, build the habit of having money dates. So sitting down with your money every single month, and you can use that time to both set a budget and check your budget, but also like do some money mindset stuff. You know, like, how am I feeling about this? What triggered me? You know, all of those kind of things. Own your emotions. Practicing mindful spending and staying in touch with your money is really important. If you know what's going on with your emotions, what triggers me, why am I emotional spending? Is this an habitual spend? It helps you with overspending and sticking to your goals. So the emotional part is really key. I would also say, I mean, we've said about education, which is really important, and not leaving your savings and investments till the end of the month.
Yes.
But know that you are not your money, and that's a really important one. We get really attached to money being a huge part of our identity.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this idea that your net worth is not your self-worth, and that like money really is just a tool to help you do the things that you want.
Yes,
you know?
so true, so
like,
true.
We can get, and I think we can probably attest to this because we got so like, you know, such hoarders, such savers. Oh, well, now I'm at, you know, 15k, now I want 20k. Oh, now, and you get obsessed with the numbers, which can be great, but like, more money doesn't necessarily equal greater happiness or better financial well-being. It's what you're doing with it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think, detaching money from your emotions and your identity, and know that money is just like this vehicle that gets you to where you want to be. And if you're like, I don't know where I want to be, that's the work you have to do. Like figure out where you're getting to first.
Yeah, no, I love both of those tips that you shared. I'd also say the last one from my end is be easy on yourself. I feel like a lot of people will listen to this podcast or will read all the books and they just want to be perfect the next day after all the tips and all the education they've taken in, right? So I'd say as we head towards the end of the year, if you haven't reached your financial goals, please don't like kill yourself over it. Like, you know, be easy on yourself. Obviously, January is quickly approaching. Yes, we want to set those goals, but also be realistic as well. You know, I mean, some of my goals are probably not realistic, so I need to probably read them. But like I said, be easy on yourself. I think a lot of us always want to just be perfect at everything, and money is just such a big like journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think like it's really important to know how you are motivated.
Yeah.
So like when I was 19 and I set this goal of me saving £15,000, I was on a £12,000 salary. So technically you would say, that's not realistic, Laura. What I did have was the delusion.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's go for it. I'm going to find a way to save this money. Now, I did it over 3 years. I didn't do it all in 1 year.
Yeah.
So I was really motivated by this sort of grandiose idea of me saving this money and reaching that goal. I didn't mind how long it took. So it's also, you know, yes, you want to be realistic, but it's also okay to be delusional as long as if you're not getting there exactly, but you've learned stuff along the way, or you've got close, or you've actually ended up with something better, that's also okay too.
Yeah.
And I think like aim for the moon, you reach the stars, like that's a good thing anyway. So if you set yourself a financial goal, if you're learning along the way, even if you don't hit it, reflect along the way.
Yeah.
What is it that worked? What is it that didn't work? What could I have done better? Was it that the goal was a bit too crazy? Or was it that I didn't even really work for it? You know, like the more honest with yourself you can be, the better.
Yeah.
And I think that's something sometimes what we don't do. We like set goals at the start of the year. We get a couple of months in, we're like, whereas I'm a big, don't worry about it. Whereas I'm a big believer like doing things quarterly.
Yeah, I like that. And also I think to add to that is probably finding an accountability partner as well.
Yeah.
Because many of us, me included, can start the new year smashing it. First month tick, second month tick, third month now you've probably already forgotten what your goals are. So having that accountability partner can be quite handy as well. Whether that's a friend, whether that's a partner, whether it's a friend online. You know, there's so many Facebook groups now that are literally like, let's have an accountability group, which I love. You know, I think we all need to cheer each other on. We need to motivate each other because life is so lonely, and sometimes if you're not sharing the same goals with your friends or your peers, it can be really hard to stay motivated. So I think that would be my final tip to round off today's podcast episode. But Laura, as always, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It's been great having you back as a guest, for the third or fourth time now? I don't even know, but
should we make it fifth, everybody?
Yeah. Always a pleasure.
This is the first time in person though, so I feel like
and it's been nice chatting to you in person. I love it. Not that we don't already spend enough time with each other. But if anyone would like to follow you online, check out your podcast, where can they go to do so?
So I'm on Instagram and TikTok, which is just my name, Laura Ann Moore. My podcast is called Mind Money Soul. It's on all of the big streaming platforms. I am on LinkedIn if you're a corporate person. And my address is... No, joking. Jokes. They're the main places that you can find me.
Amazing. And as we obviously go into the new year, are you still offering your coaching packages?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yes. So depending on what you want, if you want to change your relationship with money, but you also want to look at the practical side of it, I'm still doing my coaching. You can reach out.
Brilliant. Amazing. And please do, guys, Laura genuinely knows her stuff, as I'm sure you can probably tell after today's episode. But yeah, Laura, thanks so much again.
Thanks for having me, darling.